Hello, everyone. It's great seeing you all again. Thank you all for making it to our second digital mentoring session. We had a bit of a snowy weekend. That's just past, a bit of unexpected snow. So we're going to start off the session with our ice-breaking session, and I'm just going to ask everyone, if they don't mind, to share with me an activity they enjoyed doing as a child on the weekend. So I'm going to start with myself. Mine was sneaking out the house to go and play cricket with my neighborhood friends because I wasn't supposed to be outside past certain hours, but I was a bit of a tomboy, so I like to sneak out with my older brothers and get up to whatever they were up to. So I have fond memories of playing cricket with my brothers and their friends. That was one of my favorite childhood memory. Gonna pass it over to you, Kiki.
Hi everyone, I'm Kiki. I'm a research fellow at Rights for Time working on the Kenya case study as well as network overarching tasks such as the mentoring program. Good to see everyone. For those who've just joined, we're just doing a round of check-ins at the beginning to see how everyone is doing, and we're doing an icebreaker question, sharing an activity that we enjoyed doing as a kid on the weekend. Great question, Anna. So I grew up in Germany in the southwest, right next to the French border, but also pretty close to borders to Switzerland, another very small European country called Liechtenstein. It's kind of like in between Germany and Italy. So on a Sunday, my family would sometimes do activities like cycling to France, which is an experience that might sound pretty strange to a lot of people, but was very normal for me. I do remember finding it really fascinating, though, that you can drive for 30 minutes and then people speak an entirely different language. And becoming older, I've appreciated that experience more and more, knowing that crossing borders really isn't that easy for everyone. So yeah, one of my favorite experiences as a child was cycling over to France and then eating a tarte flambée, which is kind of like a French pizza from the Alsace region. Who would like to go next? Ben.
Cool. Yeah. So I lived in a building site for most of my childhood. We were always building a house or taking a house down. So my childhood consisted on moving bricks around during the weekend and digging stones and moving them around. And then as soon as we got a house finished, we moved on to the next one. So we never actually lived in any finished houses. Zoe, you're next on my screen. You want to go next?
Yeah, so similarly to Anella, I used to love just sneaking out of the house and going around the block. I was allowed to go around the block, not to cross roads, but to go around the block and again and again and again. So kind of going around and making stories up about local people and so on. Chantal.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see your faces again. All right. What I loved doing when I was a child was because I grew up in the Botanic Gardens in Limbe. I loved, going to the river and the sea as well, and doing laundry in the river because it was an opportunity to meet the other people, from the different communities that surrounded that area, who came to do the same thing, do laundry. We swim together, we play together. It was a really fun thing that I loved doing when I was a child. I would choose, I have with me here, if I should, Quinn Hanlett, who's the care and hospitality manager, and I also have Vanel, who's the communications manager. So maybe I pass it on to one of them, Quinn.
Hello, good morning. This is on one side. I'm happy. And I said go.
Getting a bit of feedback.
Maybe almost place. Finally. So in the framework of this project, I'm going to be occupying the post of hospitality and care manager. And for now, I can't say much, but I believe within as we run through the project implementation phase, we are going to understand everything properly and we're going to give in our best. So I think that's all I've seen for now. And thanks for bringing me in. I'm going to pass it to my other colleague that manages the communication of the project.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Okay, I'm once introducing myself. I'm Vanel Jota, and as a kid, I was really different from other kids because I loved reading. I read a lot, and from there I started writing too. Those are two things I loved doing as I was a kid. And then for the project True Memory Lane, I'm still getting in touch with all the details, so very soon we'll be able to discuss more about it. So thanks.
That's great. Thank you very much for now. I'm going to move over to Maya, and if anyone else from your team is here, do you mind just giving them a quick introduction and if they can also share what they enjoy doing as a child on the weekend? Thank you.
Thank you. No, actually, I'm alone right now, so I will share my experience. I grew up in Jordan, actually, and usually we have like Friday, our weekend will be on Friday, so we'll have a big breakfast feast and everybody will fight, actually, every Friday morning. And after everybody get like go make showers and like finish that a long process of showering one after the other, we will have a quiet like afternoon watching what people ask. It's a musical show on Jordanian TV. And then I will have like a quiet moment to have a whole room for myself and like doing my favorite things in life, like which is still until now like going around circles, walking around circles and inventing stories and make my own world. So that was my favorite moments.
That's great. Thank you very much. I'm going to pass over to, I think Richard is still connecting. So I'm going to pass over to you, Shay, because I think you're both in the same group. If you can share with us one of your favorite childhood memories from when you were a child.
Yes, I shall. Hello, everyone. My name's Dr. Shay Bankali. And as a child, I do remember fondly, we had the opportunity of going to the cinema when we were young. Something that was such a treat. We had, I think at the time it was quite unusual because it was matinees and you managed to see not one but two movies. So you had the opportunity to kind of sit down there with loads of popcorn, loads of sweets with your friends and watch amazing movies. So that's what I remember fondly when I was young.
Great, thank you. And let me see if Richard has managed to join us. I think he's still connecting. Richard, are you with us? I don't think so. Okay. Shay, is there anyone else from your team that's with us today?
No, it's just Richard is the only addition to the team.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Let's see. Dia, if you can take us away. Favorite activity to complete as a child on the weekend, and if there's anyone else from your team, if you can pass it over to them, please.
Hello all. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here with you today. I'm really sorry of the sound that must be there in the background because I was hitting the road coming from the university. And then I realized that I cannot make it in time, so I decided to go to the nearest cafe, which is not very good place to meet actually. So sorry for that. I will be talking to you only from my team. I am the only one. So I'll be talking about my childhood memories. I used to hang out with my friends and come late to a house where I get grounded by my parents because I used to come late to my house. And also I loved actually. I used to do pranks, light pranks to my friends, and I was enjoying that. I also loved racing with my friends. So these are the best memories that I have, and I wanted to share it with you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, dear. Sidlida, over to you. And same, if there's anyone else from your team, if you can pass it over to them, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. And I think our childhood memories for weekend was always loud because it was family time. So it was get together over the weekend, grandparents' house, and everybody would get together. So all the cousins, aunt, a lot of eating, a lot of talking, a lot of laughing, but that's the memory, definitely. And with me today is Zinat from our team.
Hello, am I audible? Okay, so our favorite moment, moment with on weekends with my father. He used to cook our favorite dishes on weekend. So basically, new experiments with food. So we all used to be in the kitchen, helping him, and he used to cook delicious food. So enjoying that on weekends and waiting for next weekend so that we can do another experiment with food items and spend time with him. So that's it.
That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Who else do I have? Barbara, do you mind taking us away and saying pass on over to your team? Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Barbara Otuko. I come from Uganda. I work with Facilitation for Peace and Development. I'm happy to be in for this meeting today. What I enjoyed as a child, I used to hang a lot with boys. I was a fan of football and I was given a role to play. I was a goalkeeper by then. And there's a Nigerian player who is no longer a player today. He's called Okocha, JJ Okocha. And that was the name that was given to me. It was funny because by then girls, their activities that really the society would look like it's meant for boys. I grew in a rural community and it looked very strange to the society by then. So, but I enjoyed because hanging around boys, you get to know so many things, which is quite interesting. So basically that, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. And is there anyone else from your team today, or is it just you?
No, it's just me.
Just you. Okay, that's great. Thank you. And then we have Iman, if you mind sharing with us, please, and passing over to anyone from your team if they're with us today.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Great. This is Iman from Tamer Institute. My colleague Rand used to join your meetings before. Childhood memories, I guess. I remember very well how, because we used to live in a village surrounded with lots of like natural sites around us. So I guess that what I remember the most is how I used to spend most of the time with my brothers and sisters, and we used to play outside. It was a safe area, and yeah, it was nice how we spent most of the day playing in the nature around us and with our friends and neighbors. So this is what I remember the most.
That's great, thank you. And is that everyone? I think so. Haven't missed everyone. Okay, I'm just going to go back to our team, Rana, Abdullah, and then Heather for you to take us away. Rana, what was your favorite memory as a child to complete on the weekends?
You're asking me, right? Yeah, hi everybody. Sorry for being a few minutes late. My favorite childhood memory was reading. Having to find the right book. I would hunt for the right book all week. And then in the evening, I'd make sure that I had something like a burger or a pizza and a piece of cake. And I would sit on the couch and stay reading till the morning, till the dawn comes, and then go to bed. That's my most favorite memory.
Thank you, Anna. And let's see. Ooh, Mohammed, I don't think I got you. Sorry, I missed you there. What was your favorite childhood memory to do on the weekend? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Anila. My name is Muhammad Al Tawil. I came from Palestine originally, and my favorite things when I was a child, and still when I grow up, also the same. To go to the seaside, to the beach there in Palestine, and look at the waves, and there will be some grapes there also. If there's grapes also, to find the friends, they have some farm there, so we can eat and go around and going with the orange trees and sitting there and play there. That's always with the trees and the seaside. Always this is the good memory which you can see, and more relaxation, and especially in Palestine, lots of troubles. So it's good to find the place you can get some quiet and some relaxation, and you could get some fun with the friends. Yeah, thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much. Abdullah, you're next.
Thanks, Anila. My name is Abdullah, and it's been really wonderful hearing everyone's stories, and it's made me really reflect a lot. I think, like Muhammad, water played a role in my childhood, and I remember fondly how much I loved swimming. And the only way we could go swimming was through my dad's membership at kind of the engineering club. And so I would wake up very early on Friday morning, and then just go to my dad's bed and try to wake him up. And of course, he wouldn't want to wake up, but we would persist and persist until he kind of took us swimming. And it made me realize as I got older that as adults, sometimes we don't realize how important our role is in giving kids memories. So that made me really reflect as everyone was speaking. But yes, I think swimming, being in water, and kind of the free-flowing nature of water and the possibilities it allows, that really animated my childhood.
That's great. Thank you very much, Abdullah. And then Heather, we're over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I too have fond memories involving water, something about water. For me, it was the beach because I grew up in Florida. I'm torn between two memories. One of my grandfather's feet bobbing up and down as he floated on the water and joking around with me and saying that they were fish. I remember that very, very clearly. And also thinking about Abdullah, what you said about the swimming pool. We had a YMCA that was up the street. I used to love to go there. My mom sometimes would surprise me and leave money out so I could go and be in the pool. And I remember spending months and months trying to dare myself to jump off the diving board. I was just being so chicken the whole time, and eventually I did it. Eventually, after many, many failed attempts. Yeah, welcome everybody. Should I dive into my small introductory session before I hand it over? Okay, great. Yeah, so it's lovely to see you. Well, my job this morning is to set the stage for what we're going to talk about most of the time today, and that has to do with our digital mentoring program and talking a bit around the expectations that we all have of each other as part of this network, and to really breathe further life into it through your projects, and to build a legacy that will carry on as we build what we're doing now, and then think about people who will join us in the future. So I thought I would start a little bit talking about crisis and the reason why the network came into being. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. And really what got us very interested in this network is that all of us, the founding members, were working with people who were in situations that were deemed by many aid organizations as being crisis, and that we're in need of some short-term assistance to be able to resolve the problem, and so that things could return back to a steady state. But really, I'm sure, as everybody on this call knows, that there's no such thing as a steady state, particularly with the communities and countries in which we're working. And what we set out to do then was to establish a network that would inspire and that would raise the profile of community-led projects that are mostly already in operation, that are about alleviating human suffering in humanitarian protection settings. And not about humanitarian protection moments, but really the settings that require ongoing, sustainable support, to use that term. And so as a arts and humanities research network, we are funded to conduct research, but as much as possible, we really want to be not about researching something that is finite or that is in a given moment, but rather about looking at situations that have already emerged on the ground, where there are people who are already actively leading solutions and seeking to amplify those solutions. So rather than doing research on communities, which unfortunately that happens, we really want to be doing research with communities leading. So we're very much about being grassroots led, and we're very self-reflective in that regard, thinking about are we really being dynamic enough to work with communities as they're already experiencing conflict and crisis, and working with them in such a way that is promoting change on the ground that affects individual lives. And while we do, in addition to that, have ambitions with regard to policy, we want to make sure we're reaching policymakers so that we can amplify the work that we're doing and change the funding landscape such that large international organizations that deliver aid and that make available grants are thinking about doing things in a way that is sustainable, that's in line with what we're seeing to be the needs on the ground in communities that are already developing and already practicing initiatives that bring about lasting change and that affect individual lives. So we're about individual lives in the research that we do and affecting immediate change on the ground. But at the same time, we have another lens on policy so that we can think about what can we do to maintain this change for longer. We want to really, in the main, at the heart of it, is to disrupt crisis thinking. If you think about with the slide that I'm showing now on the crisis in Afghanistan, which was in 2021, right? It seems like so long ago, but that crisis, it hasn't resolved. It's enduring, and it's cumulative, and it's intergenerational. And the aid that was delivered back at the end of 2021, I think for all intents and purposes, we would agree that that was a failed project that's not brought about any kind of meaningful change for people who are living their lives in Afghanistan. We could also think about the current Ukrainian crisis. And if you Google that, you'll get over 200 million hits. Some of the headlines that I found this morning include things like Putin's war is triggering another migrant crisis. It has this distinct quality that it's something that has happened at a moment in time, that it can be looked at as very discrete. But as we know, that they've been lasting for a millennia, these crises, they're compounding. And because we've yet to be able to resolve them and work with communities and people in inspiring these initiatives along with them, and in also reflecting on whether those initiatives are bringing about lasting, meaningful change, those humanitarian protection initiatives have failed when we think about a migrant crisis. Another headline, India warns unresolved Ukraine conflict could derail world's effort to end hunger, suggesting that there's a concerted long-term plan towards ending hunger. which it's very difficult to put your finger on what that means. Or another headline, mental health crisis facing Ukraine's displaced children. So again, something that is just has emerged now. It's not as though it was there previously, living under constant threat of war. It's as though that didn't affect children up until now. And so we work with communities who are really developing innovative solutions. So Mohammed, he's on the call. His organization, the Palestine Trauma Center, thinks about preparing for crisis. You know, the first time I met Mohammed, along with Nora and I visited him, and I said, oh, there was just a recent bombing there. And I said, oh goodness, are you all really busy responding to that? And he says, no, we prepared people for this. And that's what our organization does. We don't think about a crisis as something that happens, but rather it's something that's omnipresent, that we're always living with. And therefore an innovative solution there, because it's not individuals where trauma resides, but rather it's a society that is traumatized. It really is a very different approach to thinking about mental health and well-being in that particular context, which unfortunately is innovative, but it's something that we really want to shine a spotlight on. Like all of your work with our newest network members, we want to shine a light on the work that you're doing and showcase it to those that have the power to bring about further funding, and that also have the power to really raise the profile of the work that you've done as exemplary, and the kind of work that we need to be doing in order to fully, more closely address crisis notions. And so through your work and ours, all of us together, we're exploring really in reality what crisis is and what harm is, because harm tends to be very much considered as something that happens in a moment as well. But as we know, harm is long lasting, and it needs to be carefully thought through if we're going to develop initiatives or programs that bring about lasting and radical change that is really needed. And so we want to be able to demonstrate through our work that crisis accounts miss the big picture. But not only is this about a critique, it's also about showing another way. And we're doing that through these research projects. So everything is community led. We are academics, but we're mainly CSO and NGO partners. The Arts and Humanities Research Council funds academic research, but through the Global Challenges Research Fund, that fund allows for greater collaboration between academics and partners that is more equal. And I say more equal because after all, we're the ones who have received the funding to devolve it. And that creates an imbalance, and we're very conscious of that. And therefore, in everything that we do, we try to rebalance the power dynamics so that we are really truly being co-led by each other, that we are co-creating the network together, and the research that we're doing, we're all learning from each other. And later today, if we have an opportunity, I'll talk through some of the principles that underpin the work that we're doing that seeks to really ensure that we truly are being grassroots led and that we are serving the needs of our network members. So please do reach out at any point if you have comments on how the network is functioning, if you have ideas for how the network could better flourish. You are along with us for the ride. You are now network members and you are on equal footing with all of us. And we very much want to work with you. We were developed in the spring of 2019. Here's our timeline. You'll see that there's a big hole in the timeline, and that hole in the timeline is as a result of the UK government's budget cuts to developmental assistance. And because we've had these cuts, we've had to reshape and reimagine our project. We initially thought that we would begin by doing a policy analysis, that we would be doing our case study research in our 5 inception countries, which we've done. But then we were disrupted by those cuts, which made it such that these commissioned projects that you are undertaking were pushed further ahead in the timeline. And some of the work that we hoped to do around having larger projects, we're not able to undertake that because we have to complete our work by March of 2024. And so as a result, there's a lot that is riding on our case study projects that kicked off our network, as well as your projects. And so we're really, really keen then to make the most of the projects you're doing and building synergies across those projects. And that's where the digital mentoring program comes in. And Kiki is going to be talking about that for today, as well as Ben in talking about the different workshops, knowledge exchange workshops that we'll be holding throughout the network. So the focus then is really on the projects that you've been funded to do. So can we raise the profile of those? Can we build a legacy? Can we find ways of continuing those projects? Can we amplify it at our summit or through our manifesto, which will take place towards the end of our network, which will be, we believe, at the start of 2024, we'll be holding a summit. The summit will be likely held online, and it'll be a time for you to reflect and share your case study findings, and for all of us to think about how working together as a network has facilitated the work that we've done, and working together as a group. We are hopeful that we'll be able to unlock the doors of international aid and make them such that it's truly responding to community needs, and that it shapes and going forward and how aid is delivered in a way that is actually responding to community needs and that works with communities and leaves communities in a much stronger position than before the so-called crisis came about. I think I'll leave it there in the interest of time. Kiki, am I right that I now pass it over to you?
Yes, I'm happy to talk about some of the logistics, and then maybe we can go back to some of the temporalities of harm aspects later if there is time. I'm going to share my screen as well. Can you see that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, awesome. Yes, so to bring everyone up to speed on our mentoring plans, Ben Abdullah and I are going to give you a bit of an overview of the timeline and elements the mentoring entails. Like we already briefly discussed last time, the mentoring has 3 elements. The first one is the individual mentoring. These are one-on-one sessions or check-ins between mentors and projects. So every project has been matched with a mentor who will support them throughout the funding period and who serves as their point of contact for the network. So they are the person to speak to if you have any questions or concerns about your work or want to talk through some ideas. The second part is the group training sessions, which we are offering once a month to develop research skills as a group. The third part is what we call the network analysis. So this is a way of collecting data about our learning as a network. From time to time throughout the funding period, we will ask you to answer some questions that document how your research has been shaped by the network, as well as what your understanding of our themes and principles are, so that we can redefine them as we go along and make sure that the network develops based on the viewpoints that all of you contribute. I'm now going to say a few words about each of the 3 elements. When it comes to the individual mentoring, we really want this to be flexible and tailored to every project's needs and timeline. The mentoring program in general is meant to be co-authored with you and developed in line with what you find most useful. So please feel free to tell your mentor about your expectations, preferred ways of working, specific concerns, or how much or little support you would like throughout the funding period. Your mentor is there to support you in hitting milestones like data collection, writing outputs, listen to how your project is developing, share their knowledge and experiences regarding what works and what doesn't, and signpost content whenever it is helpful to you. So their role is to provide you with direction when you ask for it and help you work towards your goals. They might on occasion also check in with you to hold you to account for following the plan that you set out in the beginning. No research project comes without its challenges. So if you encounter problems, you can reach out to your mentor or also bring those questions to the group sessions like the one today. We'll do a round of check-ins at the beginning of every meeting and reflect on our challenges as a group. If you encounter difficulties, it is likely that someone else is experiencing them too. So yeah, it'd be great to just discuss them together as a group. With regards to the group training sessions, these will run monthly and are an opportunity for network members to present their knowledge on a range of topics related to research and humanitarian protection in order for all of us to develop our skills together. The first sessions will be run by members from the Rights for Time leadership team, and then we're hoping to turn the sessions over to you if there's interest from you to present on your work or your knowledge based on your background more generally. Starting from next month, the sessions will be open to network affiliated people and organizations as well, and you are more than welcome to extend the invite to other members of your team as well, or people who you think might benefit from attending them. Similarly, if you want to add other members of your team to the email listserv, that's no problem at all. Just let Anela know and we can communicate with them directly. The training sessions will run up until December, and each meeting will be recorded and the recording circulated, so you can listen back to them if you can't be there in person. Ben, do you want to say a little bit about the sessions that we've got coming up in the spring?
Yeah, sure. So as Kirsten said, we're going to start with ones that we know will be useful for everyone in terms of organizing a project, getting it off the ground and those sorts of things. But we're really conscious that although there's a load of expertise amongst the leadership team on running projects, there'll also be an awful lot of really interesting expertise coming out of your projects as you go along as well. So the way we've structured it, as you can see, is the first 3 sessions are going to be mainly kind of based on project gathering evidence, starting with the authorship stuff. But later on then, there's a whole load of empty slots, which we're hoping you will all help us fill by presenting on some of the challenges you've come across in your projects and how you've overcome them, and perhaps some of the findings you've found from your research and from the work you've been doing. So we're really hoping that it can be a collaborative learning and it's not just one directional. So if you've got ideas as to what you might like to present on, or a topic that would be really useful, maybe an area that you think would be really useful to pick other people's brains on, you kind of go, well, I don't know enough about subject X, it'd be really helpful. Absolutely, just drop one of us an email and we'll make sure that we put together a really useful session on it. I think one of the real advantages of the network in general and this group of people is how much expertise there is on everything. So yeah, please get in touch.
Awesome, thanks, Ben. We're going to share the list with the dates and session topics with you after this meeting. Then with regards to the network analysis, like I said, this is meant to help us develop our thinking as a network, facilitate dialogue, co-learning, and work towards our legacy. More specifically, there will be a questionnaire or interview at the beginning and end of the funding period that will be administered by your mentors. So sometime this month, your mentor is going to get in touch to schedule a meeting where they ask you some questions about concepts like trauma and time and how they're relevant to your work. Having that kind of information is going to be really helpful for defining who we are as a network. So I'm very excited to see where that leads us. The second part of the network analysis are paired discussion meetings between 2 project teams. The idea here is that 2 projects meet and talk about their work and perspectives to learn from each other and see how their similarities and differences can help them develop their work and make it stronger. Some of you might have a lot of experience with theoretical ideas or methods in an academic context, others with working practically in the field. So exchanging knowledge on where our approaches differ can be really beneficial and again help us establish the value of us being a network. I've written down a few milestones or expectations. The first one being that we communicate with each other and whenever possible attend the monthly group sessions. The second, that this month we were hoping that you could design a timeline for your project that identifies your goals and objectives for the funding period. Your mentor will schedule a meeting with you to talk you through that. I think some of them already have. Then we're hoping that you will participate in the network analysis and the initial survey that we're sending out soon about that. Then, like Heather already mentioned, at the end of the funding period, there's going to be some reports about the work that you've accomplished, as well as then the final conference that we're hoping you can all attend and present that. Abdullah, do you want to say a few words about the timeline chart that we would like everyone to complete?
Yes, thank you, Kiki. So basically, this is a Gantt chart, and what it provides is an opportunity for each mentor and each project to come together and to think about what milestones and what timeline the project should follow. So this is a working plan, and of course it can change at any point in time, but it's useful to have this reference visually and also practically when it comes to thinking about the activities of the project, the milestones and outputs of the project. So in the first half of the screen, you'll see that there's an opportunity to put down when the digital mentoring sessions take place. And these can be spaced out roughly across the 10 months of each project. But again, these can be amended depending upon any one project's timeline. In the second half of the screen, you'll see project-specific research activities. So here you just put down what milestones and outputs are already existing in the application that you submitted. And therefore, there's a sense of how they can be ordered over time as the project unfolds. So just think of this as a useful reference point between you and your project lead for mentors, in order to keep a working plan going and to amend it as necessary. And I'll be sending out another email kind of encouraging all of you to think about the timeline, and feel free to respond to that email if you have any questions about how the Gantt chart works and whether you have questions.
Awesome, thanks, Abdullah. So in terms of the overall timeline for the mentoring, we've had the start of the mentoring program in January, where projects and mentors met and introduced themselves. If you haven't yet had a meeting with your mentor, it'd be great if you could schedule that. Then in February, we've had the introduction session where you were all welcome to the network and introduced to one another. Right now, we're in March, where we're having the background session, or talk about Rights for Time's themes and the foundational principles of the network. Then later this month, we're hoping that mentors and projects can fill in the timeline chart, as well as conduct the baseline network analysis interview, and you're going to get more information about that soon. Then we've got training sessions once a month throughout the rest of the year, and then also twice, once in May and once in August, a paired discussion between two projects. Then the individual end date of your project will be marked by the end-line network analysis interview, as well as the report writing. And then we've got the conference at the end. So I think that's it for overall logistics. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then, so this was quite a lot of input. Are there any questions with regard to what's coming up in the next month?
Yes, I have one point maybe to ask and to suggest maybe the right word. Just for more communication, what's about if we have, I don't know if there's something that already existed, like WhatsApp chat groups, so keep updating and, keep in the loop, and maybe easy for people to check, like at the moment, like for Right for Times for the team and for the people from training for the qualitative studies. So we have all the team and with the trainers from the University of Birmingham, and Noura with us, and I think Hadar and some people. So that's within one project, but sometimes if we have more at the moment, so I don't know if this could be not that formal, but at least, we could benefit and share some things together within the group. Yeah, just suggestion.
That's a really good point. Thank you for that. We actually do have a channel or platform where we communicate. And I think Heather is going to be the best person to talk to us about that.
Yes, I will talk about that. And first, I want to circle back to, so we have a few things on communications to talk through, and they're more or less housekeeping matters. So we'll save them to the end as we start to wind down. So for now, what I would like us to do is we thought it would be useful if we could talk about how temporalities of harm and some of the concepts that Rights for Time as a network is dealing with relate to our projects, the research projects that we are or will be undertaking. And so in particular, there's a homework question for all of us to discuss in smaller breakout rooms. So we'll put everybody who's in on this call into one of 3 breakout rooms so that we can each have a bit more time for reflection and interacting with each other. And the particular question that we want to respond to, let me put it up on the slide. Oh, everything is blank. Basically, I'll just say it out loud then, since the slide doesn't work. So we've spoken about how we've got trauma, and that it's usually being thought through as something that happened in a moment, that it's related to a crisis, and we've referred to that as crisis thinking. So what would be useful for us is to think about the extent to which deep times of injury are hindering protection and are creating further harm. So in your particular context in which you work, how are limited ways of thinking about injury and crisis hindering humanitarian protection and causing further harm? And how would your project then related to that in any way? It could be a big way or it could be a small way. Or in fact, you could maybe redefine those terms if you wish around harm, injury, and protection in reflecting on that question.